to another episode of The Amanda Hill Show. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to the show. Welcome to me. Welcome to you. Welcome to us being back in this space. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be back here with you. This podcast has such a special place in my heart, and I've had lots of ideas floating around, and I've really been wanting to come back for, probably a month or two now, and I thought I would share with you why that's the case and, what's held me back. Because I think it's always interesting to get that behind the scenes lens. But first, I just wanted to invite you into the environment, into the space I'm in right now. It's a Friday night, and my partner Matt has gone to his end of year work function in town. So it's just been Soph and I today and tonight and for a bit of tomorrow, which is actually really beautiful. And by some sort of stroke of luck, she's just gone to sleep, maybe for the night, maybe not, who knows. It's just nearly 8 p.m. and it's been a beautiful day. It's been about 22 degrees and I think it's 25 tomorrow, and the sun's just setting now. It's golden hour, which is a really special time for me because Sophie was born at golden hour and she was also born on a Friday night. So yeah, I'm just really moved by the energy in this moment, and I just wanted to share the magic with you. I also have my hibiscus tea here, which I'll have a drink of throughout. If you've listened to the podcast before, you know that I actually don't edit any of this. So you hear the pauses, you hear the sips of tea and the deep breaths, and I hope they all encourage you to do that for yourself as well. Just inviting us into a deep breath together now. And this next one, diving deep into your belly. And out. And one more. And I say one more, but you can actually allow those deep breaths to be the space that you're in for this conversation. Welcoming them in one breath at a time. So there's honestly nowhere else I'd rather be in this moment than here with you. What's been holding me back from jumping straight in is not having a plan as to how this unfolds now, because previously in the podcast it's been consistently, once a fortnight, and then I moved to once a month, and it was always that first Tuesday of the month. And I just don't know what it will be now. And this is such a reflection of my life in this season, in this moment. I don't know what's happening any day. my beautiful girl Sophie, she's 7.5 months now, and she has just showed me how to live in the present more than ever and go with the flow. And as a result, I actually just feel so connected to my feminine energy at this point in time. And yeah, I've just had to really give myself permission to show up how I feel called and remember that this is an offering. This is a bonus. This is an extra. It's an offering from my heart. And so practicing what I preach in terms of thriving in my way. And what I'm saying now is like, this is the guidance I've been giving myself. You know, this is the way I've been talking to myself in terms of talking myself into. Okay, I'm back. I've just been to feed Sophie to sleep. Again, it's been about half an hour. Obviously, I've paused and hit record again. I'm actually so pleased because I was just wondering, how's this going to work? You know, if Sophie needs me. And I've just realised it's really easy. I just press pause and I come back and start again. And I think I just wanted to share that with you because this is my life. My life is massive surrender. So much surrender. And yeah, I just wanted to share that. So I've refreshed my tea. It was cold. It's now nearly dark, so I've lit a candle and I'm back. The dancing, motherhood, biz, life. I'm learning so much every second, every day. So I was sharing with you what had held me back coming back to the podcast. So just summarizing that last point, I just wanted to let you know that I don't know how frequently this will happen, but you can trust that I'm here when the energy's there for me. And I think that's the most potent thing as opposed to a schedule. So I hope you enjoy the magic of that energy. The other thing is that so much has happened since we last spoke. It's been like a year since I've been on the podcast, and I honestly have felt overwhelmed thinking about how to summarize the last year. Also, you know, how to come back in, and I've actually just kind of decided not to because I've shared a lot about my pregnancy, birth and early postpartum. I'm still postpartum. All mamas are actually always postpartum, something to keep in mind. But a lot of that's on my blog and on my Instagram at amanda._hill. I even shared my birth video. And I just want to thank you because you listening, you're probably someone that has, I'm just taking a guess, if you listen to the podcast, you've probably also received my birth story with so much love and respect and appreciation. So I thank you for that. It's been so incredible. I've received so much love from you and the whole community. I'm so grateful that my vulnerability and sharing was just met with so much tenderness, and I thank you so much. So basically, without any further ado, I want to just jump into this episode and right now and what's present. And, it's story time. That's what we do. This episode has come because a few weeks ago now, I shared some photos of my house being cleaned, what I came home to when my house was cleaned for the first time. And I instantly received about 5 text messages from friends, many conversations since with other people. And the resounding comment was, people getting in touch with me saying, oh my gosh, I have always wanted to do this for myself. I've always wanted to get a cleaner and I never have. And asking, who's your cleaner? What's it like? How much is it? And I'm just really curious when a common theme comes in, because this was my experience as well. It was about a year ago that I felt into this desire of wanting a cleaner, and it took me a year to actually action that. And then hearing what friends were saying, this common thread of I've always wanted to invest in that but never have, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. There must be something here, because there definitely was something for me around it. So this episode might be beneficial for you if having a cleaner is something you desire now or in the future. But also, it ties into this greater experience I've had this year, this practice of being really aware of what patterns and behaviors and ways of being keep me in a survival mode, and what patterns and behaviors and ways of being keep me in a thriving mode. And if you're listening and you're part of Thrive, my group mentoring program in October and November this year, 2020. First of all, hey sister friend. But secondly, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because we dived so deep into what it means to thrive in our way. So why I thought that this example would be really helpful is that you can actually apply this reflection, and you'll be able to take something from my process of shifting something from surviving into thriving. So I have no doubt that you'll see some of yourself in this experience, and I'd invite you to bring something into your awareness where you feel as though perhaps an old pattern's playing out, and it's time to look at that and be really curious about why that's playing on repeat and digging a little deeper. Because my curiosity here is that if so many people, including myself, have always wanted to do something, what is it that holds us back? I'm so curious about us humans, yeah? So as you know, I'm a new mama. And I'm finding my way with how the moving parts all fit in my week. I'm finding my feet. They talk about the archetype of the maiden. So this is pre-kids. And then as you give birth, you move into the archetype of the mother. And this is not something that happens overnight. It's said for this transition to take a year to integrate. So in terms of giving birth, yes, one day you're in the maiden energy, the next day, wow, you're a mother, but that integration actually takes a whole year. So anyway, that's a side note, but I just, yeah, I'm finding my way with how everything works now with a baby. You know, I gave the example even of the podcast, you know, like I'm almost relearning everything in my life because I'm going, okay, how does this work with baby? Now this is a whole new ball game. Yes, so life looks so different to what it did pre-baby. For example, I used to meditate every day. I'd say 95%, between 90 and 95% of days for about 5 or 6 years, pre-baby. When Sophie was born, all of a sudden I didn't feel like meditating at all really anymore, because I felt like breastfeeding for me became such a meditation. Just being with her became meditation, like all day and all night long. And so when I had some time to myself, say she was having a nap, I've actually noticed that most of the time I want to do something with that space. And this is at this point in time, you know, she's still a baby. And so I've been so creative and I'm often using that time to make my magic, you know, to be in my work. I nap with her once every day. But what I found was that I was falling behind in terms of stuff around the house, housework, constantly falling behind because I prioritized doing my work and then I wouldn't have time to do the house stuff. And it was just sort of this cycle that was playing out for months, really. And as I mentioned, about a year ago, I actually had a discussion with my partner, Matt, about getting a cleaner. This was when I was pregnant, and I thought, oh, this would be a good thing to put in place. And he was all for it. Yep, all good. And I didn't actually prioritize it, just didn't eventuate. It also came up pre-baby, but then COVID came and just sort of forgot about it, just sort of put it to the side. And as I said, wanting to use Sophie's nap time. She's a little cat napper most of the time, so she naps for like 20 or 30 minutes. So I would often want to use this time for something nourishing for me, and often that's making magic, that's being creative. As I said, when I did that, the house stuff would fall behind and that would really actually stress me out. And in fact, I was judging myself for that because there's a big, movement or discourse around like, you know, allowing the house to be a bit messier and prioritizing yourself. And almost always I was trying that on, but I was like judging myself of why it was still annoying me. Because I was like, why can't I just relax into like having a really messy house and like that be fine? And interestingly, what I remember is a few years ago I went on this retreat in Bali called Ocean Soul Retreat, and it was a week and cost about $4,000. It was like luxy as it's one of the best weeks of my life. The retreat venue was incredible. And what I noticed during the week was like there were 6 of us there, and the venue itself was just immaculate. And so say if we just had lunch and we'd left a few things lying around, like we'd come back from an activity like an hour later and everything would be spotless, because they had cleaners working at the retreat, but that was like a hour by hour, morning to afternoon, like everything was just like back in its place. And I actually mentioned this to the retreat organizer. I said, I'm really enjoying being in such a clean environment. Like it's just, there's something really calming about it to my nervous system. And she said, well, yeah, it's really important because we're all doing lots of healing work. Like we were having healings and massages like during the retreat. And she said the feminine can actually really rest in that cleanliness. And then say if she's processing or like that all comes out, then the clean is almost like the refresh, like it's always like a refresh. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about when it comes to like that clean, crisp environment. Or you might be someone who enjoys more of a messy environment and that's more your jam. But just sharing, because what this woman shared with me really like made sense to me. And I was like, okay, like it just connected this piece of the puzzle, because I'm someone who, like when I sit down to create, I like to make a nice environment for myself. I like things to be a bit tidy, even though I can be really messy as well. Like I'm just thinking of, my partner doesn't listen to the podcast. He stopped at the episode about periods, but that's a discussion for another day. But yeah, I can be messy at times, but when it comes to creating, I always like to make a really nice clean space, and then almost like create mess and create things from that. I know that will resonate for many of you. So I was kind of there was this tension because I was trying to lean into like, don't worry about the house, just like do whatever is nourishing for you, like don't spend nap times like cleaning. And then there was also this part of me that was just like really struggling with not keeping up and not being able to fully rest because I wasn't in a clean environment. And yeah, I was just sort of going round and round, and late October it kind of all came to a head. This one Saturday morning I woke up and I'd had this really creative week, so I hadn't been prioritizing the house at all. And I woke up and it was like everywhere I looked I felt like there was cleaning to do. And not that quick once over sort of stuff, but like fully cleaning the bathroom, the toilet, like the stovetop, the shower, like mopping the floors, like all of that stuff. I just felt like everywhere I looked I was like, fuck, I need to do that, like everything's messy. And I ended up just like lashing out at Matt. I was like, you have to clean everything today, like you need to vacuum and mop the floors. And like he just looked at me and was like, I don't want to do that. And I just, for a moment, I was like, I stopped. And then I said back to him, I was like, well, I don't want to do it either. So I was like, we're at a dead end. And I basically cracked the shits and stormed off to my room. And it's so funny now that like put my face like head down on the bed, because I was just like I've just been going like round and round in circles, and like he won't clean and I won't clean, and how's this meant to work? And like I was like having this pity party and just really angry and stressed about this, because I got to the weekend and I was like, all I want to do is relax, and I feel like I have to clean the whole house. Anyway, it was this breaking point because I always found like when I let myself have that meltdown and just like feel it all, I'm like, okay, I'm really angry. Like that is when I move through it. It's like when I'm not letting myself feel that, I come up against the same thing over and over. So I actually am like a massive advocate for the meltdown. The meltdown, which is when we process and we feel. So I had my meltdown, and I finally was then able to come into some deep breaths and just talk with myself. And, I said, hey, babes, what's going on? I was like, remember, Matt said yes to clean it a year ago. So why are you fighting it? Why are we coming up against this over and over again? What's actually going on? And my friends, here is the key point. It's really interesting when we have a desire to make a change, but it's not happening. And it's not always about pushing, because something in this scenario is going on a deeper subconscious level, a limiting belief. And I believe it's when we feel it, or we have this, meltdown or process, is when we are raw and sick of our own bullshit and we're almost brought to our knees and we go, okay, now I'm open. So now that I was open in that moment, the answer that whispered back was, I'm judging myself that I can't do it all. Everyone else seems to be doing it fine, but I just can't. Oh, as soon as I heard this, I just had so much love and compassion and empathy for myself. It was just such a relief, because I went, oh, that's what's going on. And then I knew awareness is always the first step to change. And I had an immediate shift, because I went, oh, I'm just plugging into limiting belief here, and I actually get to choose again. Now that I know what that is, I get to choose again. And, it's probably really plugged into an autopilot. I witnessed my mum is absolutely amazing around the house, and she actually seems to enjoy it. And, what we see from 0 to 7 creates our norm, creates our autopilot as such. So when I dug a bit deeper in, I was like, oh, this is what I've witnessed. I didn't witness my mum needing extra help around the house, and any of her friends really, no one really had cleaners. This was my experience growing up. So I didn't needed to recognize what was holding me back. And then, as I said, as soon as I realized, oh, girl, I'm judging myself that I can't do all of this when I don't actually want to do it all. I was like, oh, sick. Now I can choose again. I basically came running out to Matt oh my God, I'm so sorry for losing it at you. I know what's been going on. I get so excited by this. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, babe, I've just let go of judging myself, and it feels so good, and I'm going to look up getting a cleaner right now. And I also explored this with my coach that I'm working with at the moment. Her name's Sammy Fleming. You might know her. And she asked me, how do I feel about investing in myself, in terms of coaching or a doula? And I said to her, it's a piece of piss for me. I've been doing it for so many years. If there's someone I know I want to work with, I know the rewards come back tenfold for me. I currently invest between $800 and $1,000 a month in that sort of coaching, support, chiro, that sort of thing. And I don't think twice about it. And she asked me, it's really interesting that you then have a limit around what sort of practical support, whether that be a cleaner, or whether it would be like help with meals or something. And I was like, yeah, that is really interesting. Like, this sort of support I haven't invested in as much. And, you know, she asked me how it would feel to have a cleaner weekly. And I really felt into that energy. And I was like, oh, it would just feel so spacious and feel so luxe. And it would just be such a act of self-love and self-care for me and my whole family. And, you know, she asked me who would benefit, and I went into all the benefits for Sophie and all the benefits for Matt and my community and my creativity. And yeah, so that Saturday as soon as I realised what was going down and I shifted that, straight away I was on my laptop like Googling local cleaners that use natural products, and I was just so excited. And I found the one and I booked them in for that week, and I found out that they did a deep spring clean first up where they deeply clean the whole home and take a few hours to do that. And then each week or fortnight, like depending on how often you wanted it, they maintain it sort of back to that level. So I booked it in, booked it in for Thursdays, as that's the day I go to my mum's, to Nana Kay's house. And so I love the thought of leaving and then coming home to a clean house, and also having that like going into the weekend, so that my weekends could really be for play and relax and family time, and not running around trying to clean the whole house and catch up. So what I came home to that fateful Thursday, I will never forget this day. Came home from a day at Nana Kay's. I walked into a beautifully smelling home of lemon. Oh, I walked into all of Sophie's little toys lined up in the cutest little row. I walked into the toilet with the toilet paper folded, you know, in the triangle. My house felt like a hotel. The fresh sheets were on the bed. The whole house had been vacuumed, mopped. All those like deeper cleaning jobs that take time, like the stovetop, the bathroom, the shower screen, were all done. And I was walking through my home and I felt as though I had a full body massage, no joke, because of the impact that beauty had on my body, and that calm and freshness, the effect that had on my nervous system. I just felt this unwinding, and it was so beautiful because it had been a sunny day and became overcast as I was driving home, and as I got home the rain started and I knew Sophie wanted to feed, so I boiled the kettle. And I think this says it all. I went to boil the kettle and the jug was full. They had filled the jug up. So I boiled the kettle and I put on Bon Iver, which I nearly always play when it starts raining because it just suits the mood perfectly. And this rain settled in, and as I fed Sophie, just taking in my home, had my hand on my heart like whilst I was feeding her, and I just was like, Mandy, you deserve this. Like, this self-love, like a warm blanket, just like wrapped around me, because I was like, this is the support I have needed. And giving myself permission for that was just such a deep act of self-love, like not judging what that support looked like, giving myself permission. Oh, so yummy. And yeah, the next morning I took some photos of the little details. As a Sensi, the little details just slay me. They mean so much, and I know if you're listening, you probably identify as being sensitive, and you know what I'm talking about. And yeah, I posted those photos. As I said, all of the messages, people saying, oh my God, I've always wanted to do this. Can you send me the details? So let's circle back. If we have always wanted to do this, why do we wait? I waited because there was something deeper going on. I was judging myself that I couldn't do it all. So I'm wondering, if you're listening and this is a desire for you, what is holding you back from this or from another type of support that you are yearning for? Let's get really curious about money coming up. I get it. But also, to have my house cleaned, so I now have my house cleaned weekly. I have for the last month. Thursdays are literally Christmas every week. It's $120 a week. And I just always find the conversation around money interesting. Back when I was at uni, no one had any money, but somehow everyone had enough for like 5 vodka sodas on a Sunday night at Lammy's. This is the place we went to in Geelong. Maybe you went there as well. So our dialogue, something I've found really helpful for me, is changing my dialogue. Not I don't have the money, but I'm choosing not to invest in this right now. Because we all have priorities and we all make choices based on those priorities. Something I feel to mention here, I still haven't bought any baby clothes. Actually, the one thing I bought, okay, there's 2 things. I did recently buy Sophie like the cutest little like frilly bathers for summer, and I also bought her like a matching grey tracksuit for next winter because I want to be in like family grey on greys on a Sunday. But other than that, we still haven't bought any baby clothes or like baby items. You know, my cousin lent me her secondhand pram, and we got given all these secondhand clothes and secondhand bouncer. And, you know, even if I wasn't given that, if I wanted to get them secondhand, I could have got all of those items from an op shop. So, of course, no judgment if you enjoy these things or have enjoyed buying nice things. Like, I buy nice things for myself in other areas, and I might in future buy first-hand baby items. We all have different preferences, But I just challenge you not to say, I don't have the money about anything, because it's about what you choose to spend it on. You know, it's so weird to me that it's more normal for someone to buy like a $2,000 pram than to have a cleaner at their house in postpartum. Or that it's like quite normal to spend thousands to deck out a whole nursery, or like hundreds to have a baby shower, but it's not normal for someone to have like a massage every week or meals cooked in their postpartum or in their pregnancy or at any other time. You know, like if you're listening to this and you're not a mama, like I'm talking about us getting support at any time in life, not just because we have a baby anyway. But I just wanted to give a few of those examples, because I'm just aware that people listening to this could be like, oh, like that's good for you, Amanda. Like I don't have the money. And it's like, okay, like, is that actually true? Or is it that you just don't want to prioritize this right now? See how that changes the game. Okay, this has moved into a money conversation. I just, and like, yeah, if it's not a priority for you right now, that's cool. But like, call it what it is. It's not a priority for me right now. It's not, I don't have the money. Because if you're wanting a cleaner, like what's a creative solution here is like a start for you at this point in time. If you're wanting help with cleaning, like, oh, I might save up and get a deep spring clean once a year or once a quarter. And then down the track, I might get a cleaner like once a month or once a fortnight. You know, so everything is possible, and that's the place I really want to live from. And yeah, not letting things hold us back from that, being really careful about our language around money, around what we prioritize and what we choose. Like, I choose is a really powerful sentence. Like, I choose this, or I'm choosing not to have this. I'm not blaming it on something else. Okay. So this is not a podcast to like convert everyone to having a cleaner, although if you know you've been wanting this and it does for you, yay, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for me. Because it's just changed the game for me. But what I wanted to share is an example here of my process when up-leveling. Because, you know, something like getting a cleaner, it's like, oh, that's just like a little thing. Like, I believe wholeheartedly the little things are the big things. And the ripple effect that this has had into my life is huge. Huge. I won't go on about it. But, yeah, it's an example of surviving, like, that cycle, that loop I was in that wasn't serving me, around getting frustrated about not being able to keep up and like that's something that was stressing me out and that was keeping me in a survival energy. So this shift has welcomed even more thriving energy into my life. And so a reflection for you is, you know, being curious about like what is a behavior or a pattern or a way of being that's keeping me in survival mode right now. And I'm curious to know, like, is there something that you keep circling back to, like a broken record? And what's actually going on? Like, what stories are you telling yourself? What's holding you back? What would take this into a more thriving energy for you? And this is the process in itself that I've been teaching through Thrive, my group mentoring program. So it's a little bit of a taste of that. If Thrive is really speaking to you, if welcoming more thriving energy into your life is something that you're desiring and you'd love some support with, to, as I said, take it to the next level and learn to thrive no matter what is going on externally. Learn to thrive in 2020 is what we just did in October and November. I'll let you know that Thrive is coming again next year. Scheduled to be April, May 2021. So if that's of interest to you and you'd like to be first to hear about it, I would highly recommend you jumping on the wait list that's on my website. It's at www.amandahill.com.au/thrive. The reason I would recommend that is that this round of Thrive actually booked out before I even launched it publicly. So if you have any inkling that you want to hear more about Thrive, please jump on that wait list. I'm so grateful for how this program has been received. It's just blown me away. And this round was just so transformational that I'd love to invite you to be part of that magic and welcome that magic into your life. So I trust that this episode has been helpful for you. I trust that you take what you need. And until next time, lots of love. Welcome back to another episode of The Amanda Hill Show.